Good day, grade 7 students. I am Sir John and I will be with you as we study about science. Tara, let's learn together. In today's lesson, we will be talking about what makes animal cells different from plant cells, which is a part of our lesson for the week 4 of second quarter. The most essential learning competency indicated in our pivot for a budget of work is differentiate plant and animal cells according to presence or absence of certain organelles, and explain why the cell is considered the basic structural and functional unit of all organisms. The content of our lesson today is from Pivot for a Learner's Materials, which is used by grade 7 in Calabarzon region. Special thanks to the whole team of DepEd Region 4A for sharing your expertise to us. We learned from the previous lesson about the levels of biological organization, and we learned that all organisms are made up of cells. We also learned from the first week of this quarter that the cells can be seen by the use of a microscope. Let us find out in this module what are the parts of the cell, what are their functions, and why is the cell the basic and structural unit of all organisms. According to the cell theory, all living organisms are composed of cells. The cell is the basic unit of life and cells arising from pre-existing cells. These are formulated by German scientists like Theodor Schwann, Matthias Claden, and Rudolf Virchow. The cell theory developed with the advent of technology. In the modern version, it includes the following. First is, energy flow occurs within cells. Next, heredity information, the DNA, is passed from cell to cell. And all cells have the same basic chemical composition. Students like you can mostly see the nucleus of a cell using a light microscope. But what about the other parts? Biologists use an electron microscope. An electron microscope is a microscope that attains extremely high resolution using an electron beam instead of a beam of light to illuminate the object of the study. The word organelle, or the little organs, is used to describe these tiny cellular structures that we can see under the microscope. The nucleus is the part of the cell that can be observed easily. It is the control center of the cell and also labeled as the brain of the cell, where the DNA is located. The Deoxyribonucleic acid, or the DNA, exists in all living things and has the ability to make exact copies of itself. It comprises the chromosomes, making it the bearer of genetic information of an organism. The nucleolus is where the subunits of ribosome are produced. The ribosome is the one that synthesizes protein. The site where amino acids are hooked together to make proteins. The covering of our cell is the plasma membrane. It is like the skin that encloses the cell parts from the outside environment. It allows the entry of the materials inside the cell, and it is also where wastes exit. It encloses the main substance of the cell called cytoplasm. The cytoplasm is where all the organelles are embedded. It is a jelly-like substance that surrounds the organelles of the cell. It is the cell content outside the nucleus. The mitochondrion is where cellular respiration takes place. The product of cellular respiration process is cellular energy. This cellular energy is used by the other parts of the cell. This is also the site where the breakdown of the food molecules happen and to make the ATP, or the adenosine triphosphate. The popular tagline for mitochondrion is the powerhouse of the cell. The endoplasmic reticulum, or the ER, serves as the synthesizer, sorter, and transporter of materials such as protein and lipids. It is categorized into two, the rough and the smooth. The rough endoplasmic reticulum contains ribosomes, and its main function is to synthesize and transport proteins and other materials throughout the cell. The smooth endoplasmic reticulum, on the other hand, does not contain ribosomes, and it is the one that synthesizes lipids such as phospholipids and cholesterol, together with carbohydrates and steroids. Remember that the ribosomes are the ones that produce protein. If there is a production of proteins, the Golgi bodies are the ones that process and pack the proteins. It is also the one responsible for sorting and correctly shipping the proteins produced in the ER, which is a very important step in protein synthesis. The proteins produced in the ER should be correctly sent to their respective address. Lysosomes are the digestion machine of the cell. When the cell absorbs materials like food from the outside, the lysosomes will cling to it and starts to break it down by releasing their enzymes. The complex sugars, carbohydrates, and the other big molecules will become simple molecules that can be used by the cell. Lysosomes also break down unwanted materials like bacteria and old organelles. The vacuole is a membrane-enclosed fluid-filled spaces in the cytoplasm for storage of substances. The vacuole in plants is larger than in animals, taking up almost all of the spaces in a plant cell. It makes the plant cell rigid. The plants stand upright because of the water in the vacuoles. The freshness of the leaves is also due to water in the vacuole. Some vacuoles in plants contain toxic or poisonous substances. In animal cells, the vacuoles are small and are called vesicles. It stores water and food and also has the task of excretion of waste materials. The general parts of the cell are given to you, but some parts are particular to a plant cell and an animal cell. What are these parts? For the plant cell, we have the cell wall and the chloroplast. The cell wall is the outer lining beside the plasma membrane. The cell wall adds stability and protection to plant cells. Another is the chlorophyll in the chloroplasts, absorb light energy and convert it into chemical energy and allows plants to carry out the process of photosynthesis. And last is the amyloplasts that are found on plant cells that stores starch. While for animal cells, they have centrioles. Its function is connected to the cell reproduction, specifically an important role in cell division, helping with the organization of the chromosomes. Take a look on the illustration for the animal and plant cells. Note that the parts and functions of the organelles as well as their similarities and differences. This table shows the summary of the organelles that can be found in plant cell, animal cell, or both of them, as for their similarities and differences. As we end, try to answer these questions. First, how can you take care of your cells? And last, would life on Earth exist without cells? Why do you think so? That ends up our lesson for today. I hope you learned something from this video. We'll see each other again for our next lesson. Thank you for watching. Keep going and keep learning.